tiger on the prowl. I'ma make it go wild. I'm original, and I told you so. I'm a kid in the candy store with the leather on the denim. I ain't the cure, I'm the venom. If you wanna find me, find the taillight. Something's coming in, you're gonna wanna take a red eye. It's time to go. It's time to go. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Don't blink, don't blink. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Don't blink, don't blink. I don't wait for nobody. I'ma sign my name on the dotty. City lights call my name, drawn to the flame, and I'm feeling kinda naughty. I hit the ground running, step out the door and I'm stunning. Better hold tight cause you know what's going down. I'm setting the pace cause this is my town. So get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Don't blink, don't blink. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Don't blink, don't blink. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Don't blink, don't blink. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Don't blink, don't blink.
Happy What Up Rest Day. Hi, Keely Dunn, FHumpires. I'm glad you're here. And I apologize for setting the time an hour earlier and then everything going wrong this morning and absolutely not being able to get my ish together in time to go earlier. So deep apologies. Thank you everybody for indulging me and, just being the awesome humans that you are. Really appreciate it. I'm still like getting my lighting together. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't have enough light here. And anyway, and I can't do it. So I guess this is just what we're going to have. I'm seeing people in the comments as always. Rachel, thanks for doing the right thing and having your first class as per the incorrect schedule. That's the right thing to do. Get your Wednesday on. Absolutely. Hi, Amanda. Good to see you. Yes, it's a what up WURD. What up rest day. But I didn't change the graphics because ain't nobody got time for that. For those of you who have not been in the server over the last little while, it has been busy. There have been 24 matches so far in the Women's World Cup, and we have done watch parties for 24 of them. So maths, that's all of them. It's pretty nut bar. I guesstimate that is about 32 hours of umpiring education. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm loving every second of it and just really enjoying being able to be with y'all and figure out, what is going on and getting, for me, a really broad overview of the whole shebang. Because I think that's one of the things that we miss. It's a lot of work, but if you can watch, not necessarily everything, but if you can watch lots of the matches from a particular tournament, you get a better flavor for the feel for the flavor for the feel. Jeez. Yeah, it's gonna be that. It's gonna be that kind of show. For what's going on, what are the trends and that sort of thing. So as per usual, I've picked up a bunch of clips that we're going to work through because there have been questions that have been lobbed my way. And but I do want to talk about it within the whole context of how the tournament is going so far and all of that sort of thing. I see that there's some questions. I can't read this. Let's try this again, folks. How many umpires are there at the tournament? Will there be any resting for the crossover phase, or will they have a smaller lid with some teams not playing as they are qualified? Okay, so the way that it works is I believe there are 16 umpires. I am now going to totally double check that because I'm worried that that's the incorrect information, and you know what I'm like about being wrong. I hate it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There's actually 18 umpires. There we go. Glad I checked. And it is not usual practice for umpires to get the same treatment as, say, referees at FIFA World Cups are, where if their teams have advanced, or perhaps they're not going to be asked to umpire in, they're not going to get appointed to future matches, that they get sent home. That's not what we do, generally speaking. And I really think that given all of the things that we've had at this tournament so far, that they're definitely not going to send anybody home, because circumstances have been changing. At every tournament, there are injuries, there are illnesses, there are things that you have to take into account, and that's certainly been the case at this tournament. So what would normally be appointment patterns that I would look for, like, oh, this person's doing this many games at this point, so they're probably getting saved for these games for over here and that sort of thing, that just doesn't apply here. It's gone very off script because of the improvisation that's needed to be done. So a really good question, but I think it's important to know, without being able to get into any specifics, that there are things that have impacted on the possible appointments. And so we aren't going to read anything into what's been happening and just go from there. Hey, Ben, good to see you. And Ian is popping in. And I love these questions. So any questions that you have about how the tournament is run and how umpires fit into that whole thing, I would love to hear it. Oh, it's Word. It looks like Word, doesn't it? Word. For the flavor. Yes, many Keeley hours of hockey. There have been 24 Keeley hours of hockey. That's a lot of hockey. That's a lot of Keeley hours. There you go. Yeah, I'm not going to be getting a rest day ever. Canada Day, there was a match. So there was Spain and Canada. So I was here. It was about 1:30 in the afternoon it started. And yeah, that just kind of launched the chaos. So let's get into some of these things. Again, I'll be looking for your questions. And if you have something from a particular game, if you have a timestamp, or it was such an event that it's going to be easy for me to sort of pick out from everything, I will give it a shot. Having watched all the games, I remember a lot of things and then I forget others, and I'm like, oh, why did I forget that thing? It happens. So I might be able to grab that. Candace, good to see you. Candace is one of our new family members.
How you like that?
I'm kind of a fan of her, I'm just gonna say, because she's getting up really early in the morning to join in to watch matches with us, and it's been really fun having her around. So let's get into the topics, because I have a few things. Okay, here we go. We're gonna go through a few points from the tournament briefing: misconduct off the ball, misconduct on the ball, goalkeeper slides, an intentional foul in the circle, upgrading, an interference within 5 meters, and a great advantage off a green card that led to a goal. Because I want to end on a really positive note. I think we all could use that in our worlds. We could use that whole positivity thing. I'm going to try one more time to get my light to work. It's on. There's an app on my phone, but you see it just clicked off. F it. Ain't happening. Okay. Here we go. El tournament briefing. Okay. Before every tournament at every level, you should have a meeting between the umpire managers and all of the umpires. So it's often held the day before the matches start and before the technical briefing, which is between the technical team and the managers for each of the playing teams. And the umpire managers attend that as well and contribute their thoughts and that sort of thing. So it usually goes, the umpires get their briefing first, and then it's the technical briefing so that the UMs can pass along anything that emerged out of that meeting. And then, you know, there's lots of meetings. And then the teams have all their meetings and pass along everything they learned in the technical meeting to their teams. They don't. Ever. So here are the things that came out of the tournament briefing that I can apprise you about. The first one is that the umpires have been asked to treat infringements on free hits that start outside the 23-meter area, but the infringement of that 5 meters is within the 23-meter area, that is to be treated as a penalty corner. This is a change. This is a pretty big change. And I think, well, I have many thoughts about it, and we'll get to it in a minute, but I have done a Ruly Tuesday about this topic with the old interpretation. I'm not going to retract it yet because, as we've seen, sometimes an interpretation gets introduced at one of these tier 1 marquee events, and then it gets completely changed in the rulebook, as what happened with face masks in Tokyo, and how they asked for a very strict interpretation in the briefing prior to the Tokyo tournament that then got changed somehow in the middle of the tournament, and then the new rules came out and went completely the other way with the treatment of face masks. So I just want you to know that if you see this situation, that's what's going to be called. And I do have a clip because it happened probably once already. So we're going to visit that in a sec. And that means also correspondingly that infringing on free hits that start outside the circle, but the infringement's inside the circle, that's to lead to a penalty stroke. And then the last issue is that a deliberate misuse of the video referral in order to break down play will result in a green card to the captain. So we've been talking about this since Tokyo, and people have been asking, and we've been talking about what the potential remedy would be. This is kind of the only thing that's possible, and this is exactly what has been implemented. I have a feeling this will stay in the video referral regulations. So there's two separate bodies of rules that we have to know about at a tournament. There are the rules of hockey, and then there are the regulations that apply to that particular tournament. Usually regulations apply to things like, uniforms and the way points are awarded during whether you need shootouts at certain stages of the tournament and that sort of thing. Like, how is this particular tournament going to be conducted according to the unique needs of this environment and that sort of thing. So the video referral regulations are a separate, sort of body inside tournament regulations, because they only apply at tournaments where video is available, where that referral is available. So it makes sense to me that this is here and that they've been able to make that change to green card captains for that breakdown. Are we going to see this? Who knows? I've seen it, twice in the history of all the matches that I've watched. And the Argentina use in was it the quarterfinal, or if it was the pool match, where Argentina just clearly were breaking down play in order to stop an Australian counterattack. It worked very well. I don't think a green card to a captain is necessarily that big of a penalty either, though. When you think about it, it's 2 minutes of your captain sitting down instead of a breakaway. But to me, that seems like a good trade-off. Like if I knew that we were 1 goal up and there was a breakaway as a captain, I would absolutely take that card. I'd be like, yep, here you go. Feel free to card me. I want a video referral, please. And it's for XYZ. Make up a rule in my head. I would do that in a heartbeat. So I'm not sure if the deterrent value is there in terms of what actual consequences are on the pitch, but the fact that it's there might be enough. Hey, we're aware of this. We know that this could happen, so let's not be too uncool about it. So James, let's hear what you have to say here. Infringing inside the 23 is a PC and inside the circle PS feels like an improvement. Feels like the intuitive expectation at lower levels, at least. The old style always seemed like a harder sell. Well, the problem is, envision the situation where there's a free hit just outside the 23-meter area, and I am, as a defender, 1 meter away from that ball. And I stand there, and I hit the ball away, I do whatever, I get in the way. But because I'm outside the 23, but I'm egregiously closer to the ball, and I'm clearly, breaking that down, that won't turn into a penalty corner. But if I'm 4.5 meters away and inside the 23, more likely to be a situation where I'm mistaken, that's going to turn into a penalty corner. I'm not sure I like that. And if any of you can think of any other permutations of this, situations where this could occur and lead to an incongruous result, I'd love to hear about it. But that's sort of the situation I imagine in my head as well. Where does the new interpretation of 5 meter leave you umpires from now on onwards? Which way do you go? Yeah, don't change anything for now, Gideon, because until this settles down and until this perhaps becomes part of the FIH briefing, there is a new one apparently on the way. So, hang tight until that's done. For now, this is just being put in place for this tournament. And again, I hate this. I hate that something happens, something big gets changed before a major tournament. And all of these teams now are like, okay, well, I guess we all know about it, so we're going to stick to it. And the umpires are like, okay, well, we've never called it this way before, but we'll do our best. But the time to change interpretations is not just before a World Cup. It's not just before an Olympics. You've had the whole freaking Pro League to do this in. The whole Pro League. You've had literally 1 year of Pro League since the Olympics where this could have been changed. Sorry, I just bumped my wire and my microphone because I'm angry. Yes, the green card does feel a little small for the captain, James. It'll be interesting to see who makes a decision on that and how they determine it without getting into mind reading. It's the usual. We make our best assumption based on what we see. Our best guess. And if a referral is asked for something like, what did Argentina ask for? I think an early break. And they're wildly out of control, hit out, just flew past everybody. And it was like, yeah, there was definitely no early break. If there's no grounds on which you can even think, then they're going to have to assume. And does that even come close to resetting what's been taken away? No. For some, it will be. For some it will be. And that's the problem, is that if there's any inconsistency at all, that's really unfair. But I do have an example of it being put in place a little later. So maybe we should get onto that. Let's give it a shot. But, but first, misconduct off the ball. So this happened in a match, and I had a couple questions asked of me during the actual match.
Taking a bit too many risks there.
Lorraine Delforge is losing her patience here.
This is not going to help.
Okay. So a free hit is awarded there for the attackers. And as the ball's being brought to the spot, a defender sort of cuts into that space and throws her elbow out a little bit. So although it looks close, as to whether that could have been an on the ball foul, it could have been an infringement with the taking of the free hit. In that split second, Lorraine's judgment was that that was a misconduct off the ball. And in that case, you do not upgrade this to a penalty corner because it hasn't caused a disadvantage in the course of play that needs to be reset for that team. Okay, so that's the difference. This is a personal behavior that absolutely needs to be dealt with, but it's not one that changed and disadvantaged the opposing team. Okay. So if you have any questions on this one, let me know. But I wanted to, just make sure that that was pretty clear as to what that one was. So I'll just go into this now here. Whoops. Huh. That was really quick. I was like, 2-minute warning. That's time. Something screwed up there. Anyway. Stefan, you had a question from the changes. How much difference in briefings is there across the different tournaments? If told day before, some changes can affect the way teams are structured. I mean, no, that wouldn't do it. It doesn't change how teams are structured, and I don't even know what those words mean. But what it does change is how penalties are given out, and I think there's a difference between changing, like, whether teams can wear white socks, which probably wouldn't be very fair anyway. But anyway, it's a regulation about how the tournament's conducted, and then changing an interpretation that has an impact on a penalty that's given during the game. Those are two very different things. So, how much difference in, so the briefings have to do with interpretations and don't have to do with regulations. And everybody just has to deal. Stain, what if the attacker that was fouled had wanted to play on quickly PC then? If the attacker had been able to get the ball in play, then yes, that would be a PC for infringing on 5 meters. And intentionally break down the play for that last one. So, yes. Good stuff. Okay. And now, number 3. Let's not get this wrong. An event of misconduct on the ball. Everybody has seen the still photos. Not many people have seen the replays.
Give that tactic long to work. That would be my only concern.
This is Ireland-Chile.
Well, that and the fact that on 80% of the occasions I've seen it to use, it's gone the other way.
She may have caught an elbow in the face on that challenge there.
Don't know that either umpire had a completely clear view of that. Okay, not one of those situations where we want to get our cameras too far into the situation here, perhaps.
Oh, it was a stick. Just caught her.
Ooh, yes.
We are discussing it. Okay, just from our side. Wait. From our side, what we saw is the stick was hooked. So, okay, we didn't see that.
Withdraw their goalkeeper. Not going to give that tactic long to.
Okay, so first off, I think a lot of the social media discussion has revolved around seeing a still photo. And if you think that something looks exaggerated in slow motion, as we saw as we're watching the replays of this, think about just how exaggerated it looks when it's a still photo. It looks like this was forever happening, and it was very clear and very obvious. And from the angle that you've seen that still photo that was taken, I think a tournament photographer would have nailed that. It looks really bad. It is bad. I'm not trying to take away from this whatsoever. The initial foul was definitely a breakdown foul by Ireland. One player, both players, I don't know. They did completely break down this play. Did the Chileans' stick get hooked? I don't know. I don't think it did. Was she reckless and dangerous as to its use that led to an injury? Yes. So had this been seen in the moment on the field, a 10-minute yellow card is what I think is the appropriate penalty for this. Again, I've heard lots of people, especially Irish fans, as always, screaming for a red card. Red cards are reserved for violence outside of the realm of what is hockey play. Now, this is a player getting sandwiched by two opponents, fighting for the ball, getting broken down, and it's part of the play. But on the other hand, absolutely needs to be dealt with in a significant fashion. So what happens in situations like this, when the umpires are unable to determine what happened on the field, is that tournament directors will look at these incidents and they will make an assessment as to whether supplementary discipline needs to be given. Every player, umpire, coach, volunteer signs the FIH Code of Conduct going into these tournaments. And there is a codification of certain actions that would draw particular sanctions. So this would, I think, be a level 2 offense. I didn't see the TD's report because they're hiding it somewhere. It's not published anywhere. It should be, but it's not. I think this is a level 2 offense of something that requires and normally corresponds to a match ban, and that's exactly what happened in this case. The Chilean player was suspended for an entire match. And you can say, well, I'm sure Ireland would have preferred to have a 10-minute yellow card issued, which would have given them the player advantage for the next 3 minutes. At the same time, that yellow card breakdown by Ireland wasn't called either. So really, if the appropriate penalties had been assessed, there probably would have been a yellow card to Ireland and then a 10-minute yellow card to the Chilean player, and would not have changed a single thing anyway. I mean, we all hate seeing this. There isn't a single umpire out there who does a game, sees a player get hurt, and doesn't feel absolutely sick. Because we always wonder, could we have done something better? Could we have prevented this from happening? In this situation, you couldn't have. Let's see what you guys have to say on this. Yeah, on this still nobody mentioned the umpire radio comments, and that's why I left that in the clip that I made, because what you can hear is a conversation between Van Rie. Winter is talking to Rasheen Upton, who is the injured player, and saying, look, I didn't see that happen. and Van Rie's got Ivana Makar on the other side, and they're conferring, and Ivana says, I think she got her stick hooked. And so neither of them saw it, and if you look exactly in the moment as this tackle is coming in, let's see if I can get it right back. Okay, you can't see Van Rie right there, but she is at a 45-degree angle to the play and outside, which is a conventional position for that kind of play. It's not the kind of positioning that I've been advocating, and in any spot you're risking missing something, right? There's never a perfect angle that allows you to see everything. But had she been more inside, she would have seen this develop in a different way. So she couldn't see because Upton's body was, blocking her from part of it. Not from seeing the stick, but if you see a stick, all of a sudden, it's a little more difficult to figure out how it got there, right? The other thing that is, I think, something that we all have to understand about this, and when I did the What Up Wednesday and talked about the Loughborough penalty stroke non-goal situation, is that when something unusual happens, it is really like we lose the context of how umpires' experience comes into this. How many times when you've been umpiring have you needed to give a 10-minute yellow card for a stick infraction that happened near a player's face or head? How many times has that happened? I would hope, seldomly, I would hope that you're talking about maybe, for me, 3 times, maybe I've ever seen it. Or 3 times it's happened, and 2 of those times I missed it. Why? Because it's not something we have practice looking for. What is Van Rie looking for in that situation? She's looking for a stick obstruction down low. She's looking for, it's not something you're anticipating. You haven't greased your neurons to go, oh yeah, I think there's going to be something, recklessly dangerous with a stick coming here, so I'm going to be looking for that. It's not. So it is so much more of a difficult call to make than anybody expects and anybody believes. Yes, a 10-minute yellow for the Chilean player for that dangerous use of the stick. Do I think there was a breakdown foul by one or both of those Irish players? I think you could have taken both of them. You could have picked either of them and taken them off for a 5-minute yellow. And I don't know where the cards were at that point. Lena Tice was sitting off with a 5-minute yellow already at that point, This happened in the middle of the field in the 23. Would the umpire be able to ask for help from the video umpire? Only if that offense would have resulted in a team penalty. You can't refer cards. So if she sees what she sees and she sees an intentional breakdown and calls a penalty corner against Ireland for that, Ireland can't then come back and say, but you need to card Chile for the use of the stick for that misconduct, because you can't refer that. It's not within the ambit of the video referral regulations as they stand right now. Could that change in the future? Sure. We just saw green cards to the captains for misusing it, so it could change. Yes, Camila Curran is the player's name. I try not to be all pointing fingers at people, but yes, she was suspended for the game against the Netherlands. And think about this just for a second. Camila Curran's been playing for Chile for a long time. She's one of their most experienced players. And she lost out on the chance to play against the Netherlands. I'm not saying she deserved not to miss that chance. That is the appropriate punishment, absolutely. But don't think it wasn't a big punishment, because she's probably not going to get that chance again in her entire career. I can tell you that I didn't ever get the opportunity to umpire the Netherlands senior team in my umpiring career. And that sticks in my craw to this day, because I umpired every other team in the top 20 and obviously further as well. But somehow I never got appointed in the Netherlands. So that was significant, and she's not a small piece of that team. I was really impressed with how well Chile played against the Netherlands, given they didn't have her. Is there a reason why going forward with regulation change in this potential serious foul situation, the umpires can't ask for a video referral at the time? I think that we have to be careful about adding more things that could be referred, that umpires can self-refer, because it just gives another set of things that umpires have to think about, that should they not, and what effect does it have on the game? How much of an interruption is it? Are they reacting to something that the players have done on the pitch? Are they being reactive? And is that an issue? Okay. So we saw, and I didn't clip these moments, but we can certainly talk about it later on if we have the time, that in the England-China game, there was an incident in the circle. A penalty corner goal was scored by England, and the Chinese players, you know, they wished that they had their referral. They had lost their referral earlier on the first England goal, and the umpire chose not to self-refer. Part of that, I'm just going to throw it out there as a guess, was a defensive reaction to having those players in her face and yelling at her and demanding a referral. And that kind of, you know, we grow up learning that we're to shove that away and say, absolutely not, no. So would the ability to self-refer something that is, you know, a misconduct situation, get into the situation where you have more players trying to push you into taking a self-referral for that? I absolutely think that that's true. And at the end of the day, the team penalties are what make the difference. They're there to reset the scales of justice. And if that wasn't a team penalty, even though it was on the ball, if that wasn't a team penalty situation, then I've lost my train of thought, but I'll get there. I'll get back to it. I'm sure I will. There's nothing to reset in terms of the disadvantage that Ireland suffered. Yes, their player got injured and cut open, and it's terrible. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But a scoring chance wasn't taken away by what happened there. It was just an incident. And the first team penalty was the breakdown by Ireland. Yeah, and it's really hard, Candice, that after something that significant has occurred, it's really hard to go back and go, oh, and by the way, yeah, you've just had a stick in the face, but here, take a yellow card for breaking down that play while you already have another player off. That would have been really, really tough to do. A similar thing, Nikki, happened during the India-Netherlands Men's Pro League game 1, and it was sent to the video by the umpires automatically. Why not here? You're going to have to... I'll go look for that. But when you say sent automatically in a similar thing, I have a feeling that it wasn't a similar thing. Because I would have known about it. Because that would have been a big deal, because that's not the standards. And in hindsight, everything is very, very big. The previous breakdown foul by Ireland is not in the clip, is it? No, like that moment that the two players are coming in from, you know, she's got one blasting her from behind, and then the breakdown from the side from the player who gets injured from Rasheen Upton. That's the breakdown foul right there, not Lena Theis's. Lena Theis's was very clear as well. Yeah, and that's okay. All that we benefit, all that we learn from discussing that is understanding that maybe, you know, what are we looking for? What are we anticipating? What are we going to try to notice in that moment? What can we as a supporting umpire perhaps do better in order to see that in the moment, right? That's because we're trying to learn from this, not to sort out, you know, who was right and who was wrong and what should have been done. That's not our business. That's nobody's business because it's in the past. Jenny, in real time when you're watching, it happened so quickly. Yeah, it was a stumble then down. Yeah, I mean, I saw it in the moment and I saw the stick and I was like, oh crap, this is bad. This is going to be bad. I'm going to have to talk about this. Everything is in reference to, am I going to have to talk about this? But there you go. Okay. The post-match management after that was pretty well done. The suspension is a clear response. Yeah. It's hard to compare case by case for video referral. Take some emotion out. Yep. It's all there. All right. Moving on. The goalkeeper slide tackles. Yay. A lot of questions were lobbed my way after the Ireland-Netherlands game.
That's lovely.
Ireland, the gift that keeps on giving.
Yes, a lovely ball kick. Surely the first goal here. That'll be a penalty stroke. Aisha McFerrin completely undone there by the skill on the ball of Maria Viscour, and wiped out there by the Irish goalkeeper, who was fully committed as she had to be. Lovely craft there from Janssen through to Viscour, and there's the slide of McFerrin.
Definitely the right decision.
Okay, so that was the first one from that particular game, and you know, there's no doubt of the stroke there. The goalkeeper is coming out with more momentum than is needed, completely misses the ball, stops the player, it's the breakdown. No problem from that.
Loose.
Here's the second one from the same game.
Oh, there you go.
Powering through, what a chance this is.
Oh.
And again, McFerrin wiping out his Albers this time.
It's exactly the same as the first time.
An absolute carbon copy. And again, the umpire with a little choice but to point for the penalty spot.
There's Matla again.
Mistake in the midfield. Velta on it in a flash. The ball across the centre to Albers. And a committed McFerrin, shall we say.
You could actually argue that her timing was better in that one than the first one. She was really late, but they're very true. So the question that was asked, and to me, in the moment, I didn't even think that there needed to be any cards on either of these incidents. It just didn't even match up. However, I've been thinking about this a lot over the last few days since this match happened, and I think that when I talk to you all about the need for understanding the balance between what the team penalty gives and what the personal message might need to be in this situation, the repetition of the same foul in this game, to me, pushes this past the second one just being a stroke. So I think that I made the mistake really in the moment and in the discussions I had that day with people is just not really examining that very closely, because what I argue in the first instance is that, hey, you've given up a stroke. That's a really big deal. There is a big message sent there. And I tell you a lot about penalty corner upgrades happening outside the circle, and people say, well, the first one, like, why wasn't there a green card there? And I'm like, because the corner is the message as well. It's a big message. Giving up a corner for something that happens outside the circle is a big deal. It's a great scoring opportunity. So you're not going to card that first one. But if you're having to repeatedly upgrade, then the message hasn't been received. And given the identical nature of this foul, to me, yes, I think maybe the second time, I'd be looking at a 5-minute yellow card for the intentional breakdown. It's not a green because it's high impact and it's physical. It takes the player down. So I wanted you all to know that I listen to what people say, and I realize, the errors of my own thinking and that sort of thing. So there you go. Oh, thank you. That would be nice. Only if you think it's quality, okay? So I hope that makes that distinction more clear between when you need to combine the team penalty and the personal penalty. It's art. There's no science to it. And in watching the game, my feeling wasn't, oh, that really needs to go. But part of that is because we'd now flipped ends, and like the first one happened in the second quarter, the second one happened in the third quarter. It wasn't the same umpire. Had it been the exact same umpire, I think it would have been really tough to not give the card. Like, your feeling, your gut, your truthiness in your gut, your Stephen Colbertness would have said, yeah, I need to do more. Because it didn't work the first time. Because we don't want this to happen over and over and over in a game. You want the player to pull out of that tackle. You don't want it to be broken down. You want to see skillful, flowing, attacking, and defending hockey. And clearly that's not achieved. So on the evidence, on the data, that's what you got. So there you go. Oh my goodness, JP Hightech, a non-hockey person. This is going to be really fun for you. There you go. And yes, Henry, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. I hope that you all understand that when we are having the back and forth, that when I'm pointing out opposite points of view and I'm stating certain things, that this is an exchange. And sometimes I'm absolutely right, but sometimes I'm wrong. So that really helps. Yeah. There you go. And go, Henry. Okay. Let's get into the fifth clip, the fifth scenario, and the fifth topic. Here we come. The intentional foul inside the circle. This is going to be a nice quick one. I'm very excited about that fact. Spain and Argentina, an umpire who was actually at the game asked me, why was that a penalty stroke? Okay, what I'm gonna do, actually, now that first I have to, because this is driving me crazy. Okay, I'm gonna play it again. And in the moment when I was watching this, I was like, this is a stroke?
Granato past our first player, Maria Granato into the circle, and a penalty stroke given by Ali Kia.
So from that camera angle, or from that angle that you might be sitting at, inside the stands, you might be going, I don't really get it. And even from there, maybe not. Okay, so that's just a close-up of the first angle. Now watch this. Boom. Okay, so the reason I wanted to tease this out was really quickly, just to reinforce to us how important angles are. And why I think it's so important for us to be in our mission critical positioning off the post and as more vertical to the play, because that's going to give us the best opportunity to see this. If we are in line, if we're running alongside, if we're looking over our shoulder, if we are only at a 45-degree angle, we can miss this. Just like the camera did unintentionally in the first instance. Okay? So I hope you can see that difference. Yeah, absolutely all about that camera angle. Boom. Wait. Boom. That is a highly inappropriate place to put a DJ air horn. But I don't care. Okay. Next scenario. Oh. Yep. Great pickup on the third angle for sure.
Well,
So now we're going back to that time at band camp.
Penalising them. I think the Dutch might want to refer this.
You can refer if you want.
You're not getting that sound effect, and stop using hashtags. We don't need to.
I think they were deciding whether to refer
Okay.
it or not here.
So there's no question on this play. This is from the Netherlands-Germany game, and I had a Dutch umpire ask me about this. It's in the server, and they were like, why was that a corner? Now watch, we have the free hit starting from outside the 23-meter line. Okay. And the infringement happens inside the 23-meter line. If you believe the infringement is for the 5 meters, we now have the new interpretation being used. And this is the first time it happened in that game. You could argue, let's say that interpretation hadn't been announced before the tournament started, you could argue that this is an intentional obstruction that takes a player to ground. So, easily enough. But I think that this is the first one. And this might be why Van Heffen is so indignant that that call has been made against her, because she's forgotten that change had been made. I mean, you watch her. So there's the free hit. She turns around and then she moves into the lane. She moves into the most attractive running lane of the attacker. And I've said this over and over again, is that it's not enough for a player just to run with their hands in the air or their stick up here. They need to not take the best play away. That is the channeling, that is the interference that we're talking about. And if that happens, you need to penalize it appropriately. The Loving It Club. JP's making up for the fact that David Hunt isn't here. I miss David. He asked the nicest questions that I always had an answer for. Absolutely. It's the step to the left, Henry, and then she moves back to the right. Come on, friends. Yeah, it's not even lazy. It's very deliberate. I agree, Stain. Okay, so really great pick. Loved that. Okay, so here's the last scenario. Maybe I'll just hold for a second. I'll just hold for a second just to make sure there aren't any other questions coming out from that. Any other statements? Much appreciated. JP, if you're wondering what's happening with my studio setup here, it's because I've been on air for 36 hours in the last 5 days, basically. So I'm in my office. Too bad. You were sitting in line with the match behind the Dutch goal and you didn't understand. Yeah. And this is the challenge, right? So what I'd invite all of you to do, because this is something that I've really gotten better at in my life, is I know that we're all often supporting our home team at these things. But when you're an umpire, in order to be the best umpire you could be, to learn from these situations, is to suspend that partisanship just for a second, and go, you know what? That's Lorene Delforge. I bet she got that right. I just don't know why. And as an umpire manager and umpire coach, this is something I've really worked on, is to not watch something that an umpire does and question their call. Immediately go, oh, got that one wrong. Big X in my notebook, all that kind of stuff, scribbled down the time. Ooh, gonna have to ask them about that later. It'll be like, oh, That's interesting. I want to get led through that, and I'm gonna ask about angles and things like that, and what did they see, and what was their confidence level, what was the communication like, all that kind of stuff. And then I'm going to assume they got it right. Okay? All of the communication I've been getting since the World Cup started, when there is an umpire, and I know that their nationality is from one of the teams that's participating, I will only get questions, and angrily phrased questions, regarding a call that's made against that person's team. Like, why was this call made? Would you be saying it that way? Would you be looking at it that way if you were watching two teams that are neutral for you? You wouldn't. Think about England-China, okay? If you were in the watch party, you know what happened. If those calls had been made against England, my DMs would have been crushed by the number of people. English umpires furious at what happened, saying, how could this possibly have been a decision? Are you kidding me? Blah, blah, blah. This can't happen at a World Cup. This is below standards. Blah, blah. It just... But instead I got a few, that was kind of interesting. If you don't react the same way when your team gets benefited from it, you are not reacting on principle, you're reacting on partisanship. And you can pretty much F off with all of that, as far as I'm concerned. And that, my friends, might just be my rant of the week. I snuck that one in. Oh my goodness. I didn't hear any of the English players afterwards going, we got lucky. They'd be the first to blame those decisions had they gone against them and said, yeah, we had some unlucky calls. But it's our job to fight back, blah, blah, blah. Those cliches. But none of them came out and said, yeah, we got some lucky calls there. But we have to play what's dealt to us. And we went through. No, it was a big fight and blah, blah, blah. Please. Okay. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Taco, I think in that Dutch-Germany situation, I think you could have gone with the deliberate obstruction anyway. She wasn't even playing the ball, which is kind of an interesting way of looking at it. Because really there is a 5-meter infringement, but if the infringement is also an illegal action, if the infringement is playing the ball with your body, if the infringement is, physically obstructing, stick obstructing, you can pick either or. And that actually, as my motors are turning and the smoke's coming out of my ears, that makes more sense for the interpretation change at the beginning of the tournament. Does that make sense to you guys? Have I been sensical? Play is gonna play. So umpires have to be umpires. Yes.
How you like that?
That's what I think. Last scenario, because I love to end on the positive notes. A green card advantage leading to a goal, and the umpire goes back to the card. Netherlands-Germany game again.
Germany haven't given it up yet.
Man, I hope I got this right.
Neither of this huge
Okay,
crowd.
here it is.
Play. 25 feet out of that correct.
Third surely, yes. Maria score, she could hardly miss. And the Dutch are on a roll here now.
I think the fire is back.
I think the fire is indeed back, and it's burning strongly here. Marivisco from close
So as you're
range.
watching the replay fold over, I hope you could hear it in the broadcast.
Jeremy have picked up a card
And
there
this
from
is the
Victoria
bonus of
Musa
watching
as
the
well.
matches being played in Amstelveen because they have this hooked up.
I think this one has gone as
But
far
you
as
could
Jeremy
hear as
concerned
soon
now.
as this breakdown came in,
That was the challenge that was penalised.
Loreen says it's 25. It's 25, and Alicia's like, got it.
Picking up the
So
pace.
they have now communicated to each other that that green card is going to come. And they've done so. They've done this communication, and don't even try to, they know that their audio is going through on the broadcast. They've committed out loud that they're going to go back for that card. And this, I think, is a really great expression of the rule to you, is that you should say your cards out loud, especially if you have radios. But even if you don't, you're saying 25, I saw that coming back to you. Okay? So that as the play continues, first of all, that player knows that they're in doo-doo and they're not going to do anything stupid now because they're like, well, this would not be the time to throw in that second tackle. Okay? And you have committed out loud that you're going to go back. It is too easy when we keep that little inside voice. We're like, oh, okay, I think I'm going to come back to that. But I'm going to see what happens first. I'm going to see if they score. No. The message, if it needed to be sent without the goal, needs to be sent with the goal. This is fantastic umpiring, fantastic communication between Alicia and Loreen, and I loved every second of it. Yeah. That's why you can't change these things at the big tournaments. It's crazy. Sensical is a new word. I love it. Yes. You're absolutely right, Henry. Not enough umpires go back to get these cards after they've been done. Yeah. And it is a very good point. Our game is hard enough. You know, I'm not in favor of making the rules more black and white. To make the rules more black and white, we'd have to write a lot more rules. And that would be even less. That would be even a bigger deterrent for anybody to read the rule book and educate themselves as to what the rules are. We're lucky we only have 15 rules right now. Because if we get like an American NFL style rule book or other sport balls type rule books, nobody's going to read them. We don't have a chance in heck. Yeah, you've done it both ways, gone back and not, but these days you always go back. Hey, we're all out here to improve. I get it. It's happened a couple other times in the other games. Glad it does. It's not just, it's not enough to just, because you want that to clean up. You really want to inspire the players by demonstration of the kind of hockey that you want to see for the rest of the game. And it's not that. Even if that breakdown didn't work, it was sure a great attempt at breaking down the play. So we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. Okay? Yes, absolutely fantastic communication. And you guys are absolutely right that this has happened a few times during the tournament. And I think it's one of the things that they've done really, really well. That most times the umpires are listening to each other. They're accepting each other's advice. They're using each other. Say, do you have the number? It happened one time with Loreen, I think in the Netherlands-Ireland game. I can't remember who she was umpiring with in that, but she had the player that she wanted to card coming towards her. And, you know, you can barely see the number on the skirt. It's really hard. So she asked her colleague, did you get the number? What number was that? Right there. And the colleague said, she said, okay, I'm going back. Green card? Yeah, going to a green card on that. So they've said all of that out loud. Awesome. Just so good. I think we have a love fest happening in the comments. This is awkward. Aw, one of the best games was the one he did with... Oh, no, it's not that sound effect. I don't have a good sound effect for this because we never get these sentimental moments. This is all my fault.
Can't hang with the big dog, stay on the porch, blow the whistle.
That's all I can say. Just blow the whistle. U.S. hockey at some level, or us hockey, U.S. hockey at some levels do have the sport ball rule books. And some want the world to have that. Yeah. No. Oh, very sweet. Absolutely love that. Okay, I think that is probably good for this whole adventure. I wonder if I have... Is this gonna... No, not that. I was hoping I had the graphics, and let's face it, if I told you to go to my website and join the watch party crew, FHumpires.com/WWC, HWC, I can't remember. I don't know, you'd probably be faced with a whole bunch of random code because my site is borked. And I don't know what's happening. So that's why I was late today, and that's what I'm going to be doing for the next little while. Not exactly the rest day I was hoping for. But it's okay. Tomorrow's only 2 games. Anyway, if you are interested in joining in these watch parties, every game we are talking through the matches, and I'm giving you as much information as I think is useful. Sometimes I'm quiet for a while. Sometimes I'm a nonstop chatterbox. And I think Henry and Mike have figured out how to get me talking, is to ask me questions about, you know, other things around umpiring in a tournament. So there you go. But I would love to see you. I think if you, especially if you go on a desktop and you go into the pages, everything still works. It just looks like it's broken. So you could join the watch party crew. If you're a yellow member and you haven't been partaking, what? And make sure that you head over to the Discord server, because this is where we have all the conversations. I have a thread. We have a thread set up for every single match, so we can keep our conversations specific to that. If you're interested in that game or something happened in that game and you're wondering, was there any conversation about that? Go to the thread and you'll be able to find all of that information and be able to do some learning. So yeah. Occasionally I do put some of the clips in there. I've done it a couple times. So we'll see. It is. Yeah, the site is odd for your phone. It's all about page caching. So, but it's somewhat broken on my desktops as well. And I can't. Yellows for winners. It's true. Whoops. Get that out of the way. Yellows for winners. Absolutely. FHU3T.com. Wait, is this gonna work? This is gonna work. I can't guarantee you'll be able to see anything if you go there, but it's there. And come join us and watch parties for the win. Absolutely, Candace, it's just been great having you, so thank you. And look, my autofocus. There we go. I look so much better in focus. Okay, thank you all for joining me, especially for some of you on a Friday night. I know you had big party plans and you're like, I'm sorry, Keely's going live. I have to stay to watch, especially because I pushed it back later. The TV coverage in New Zealand is only of the New Zealand and Aussie games. Yep. It's a small iPhone screen in the watch party for others, and then you can ask questions. Yeah, you should be able to set it up that you can see the watch party bigger. Click on the stream and make it the big window like you would in Zoom, first of all. And then get more monitors. Get more monitors. Very important. Oh, we have a question. Caroline Vandeler is the watch party. How does it work? The match shown, because you can't see the matches in Belgium. How about you message me in the server for that information? If anybody gifts that, I'm gonna be so mad. Don't you dare mean that. Yes, have a great Hockey World Cup weekend, everybody. Yes, I know it's Saturday morning. So you had big plans too, to do great things. And you have the live stream maxed on one monitor, chat on the other. Boss, I love hearing that. There you go. And she's winking back. We're good at this. Okay. Okay, but We can sort this, Stefan. Come to the server and we'll see what we can do with your hardware setup. She's there. She's in there. I've seen her. And there's no TV and coverage in Australia at all. It's not on, what is it called? KO? It starts with a K, doesn't it? Something like that. I'm pretty sure it's on one of your channels. The other thing that you need to do is to get yourself a VPN. Best money I've ever spent about like a business expense is to have a VPN. So I can do that. And you still have a spare monitor. Girl, I love to hear that. Okay, I'm wrapping this up. Thanks very much for everything. And it's been great having you join me and keep me sane as we're doing this marathon of watching hockey. I've almost got all the matches captured, but I have to now clip. It takes me, I've calculated, it takes me 2 hours to clip a match. And I've only finished one match so far. 24 matches. 23. I have 46 hours of clipping right now. Yeah, there you go. I also have an affiliate link for Wetopia's personal VPN in the YouTube comments. They're lovely and amazing tech support, so I like that. Thanks very much. We're going to have another one of these on the next rest day at the correct time. The 1800 GMT, not the 1700, because I just can't handle it. Okay. Love y'all. See you.